And then I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with my channel on YouTube, but I've done a couple different builds, and this build that I did with my boy years ago is on there too. But this is what the VR6 is going in. 78 Scirocco. And of course we'll be showing more about this car here later on, putting the motor in it, taking this one out. So there it is. That's where we're going to be working on sooner or later. And then this part here, got the flywheel and the clutch off of there. And I was looking, I don't think they went as far as to getting into this bottom cover, because you see all that silicone? That's what it looks like where they touched. And there's bolts missing everywhere, you know, and there's no bolts missing down here. So I'm not sure if they went as far as to get into that deep. Anyway, there it is. And I don't know, I'll pause for a minute with that. I seen one car, it's got a blown motor. I'd probably get it for $500, put that in there. You know, so then I'd be up quite a bit on this car. Because here's the transmission, starter, all that stuff I'd have to buy. That's all good. And then, just like you said, that clutch is brand new. It's a brand new SOX clutch, pressure plate. And I'm assuming this flywheel is new also, because it, even though it's rusted, it doesn't look ever touched. So I'm going to clean all that stuff up. You know, like I said, that's $250 right there. So I did good buying this transmission wrapped in a car, hooked to a motor. And I think that motor is going to be good too, so I don't know. I might buy that other Jetta. Yeah, see if I can't, because it's hard to sell just a motor. It's sitting by itself. So yeah, we'll see. Gotta get a couple more things off this. I'm gonna take a couple more pieces of the wiring, I think. I don't know what I want to do. But I at least need the connections for the reverse light. And then this is the starter. So it's nice just to keep those factory connections. And then you just tap into those wires, and then you just got a factory hookup for that connection. And then I also am going to steal the hydraulic clutch. Okay, I'm going to rip that stuff out of there. And I need the shifting cables and the shifting box. Now there's other good stuff on this car, but man, like I said, these cars are a dime a dozen. I think I'm just wasting my time. Unless my boy finds somebody that wants this stuff, then he's welcome to sell it. I don't have a good set of wheels. They're both mismatched set of wheels on this. Interior's, you know, nothing special. You know, so anyway. This one's probably going to go bye-bye. Yeah, I got one more piece off of that car, and that is the hydraulic clutch. So what we're looking at is there's the slave cylinder. It goes down into the tranny. Right here, into the bell housing. And the line. All of that. And then this right here, which is the master, that comes into the reservoir for the brake reservoir. Takes fluid off of that, and then that goes through the firewall and hooks to the clutch cable. So all I gotta do is find a way to hook this to the clutch cable, or I mean to the clutch pedal in the 78 Scirocco. Mount this thing to the firewall, hook these lines up, you know, bend them and secure them just where I want, because that metal part, you know, it bends. You can kind of bend it where you want it. So that is, you know, it's another $300 worth of parts right there that you'd have to buy to make this work. Now that's going to make that car so nice. You don't realize that clutch and that transmission and that 5-speed that's in there, it's a cable, and they're always a pain in the butt. They never work right. The cable always binds, and it's just always an ugly fill. It's never a true push. It's never a true release. It's always kind of weird. So to have a hydraulic clutch in that car, it's gonna be so nice. Really, really, really nice. So once again, I'm pulling parts off this thing and making it, you know, a good buy. Making it a good buy. And it was pretty easy to get out of there. You look down inside that hole. Well, it's dark. On the other side of the brake. A couple bolts on the inside. Take it loose from the pedal. Release the lines with the little pins, and it just comes right out of there. It's really not too bad when you got the motor and everything out of the way. Now, next thing is the cables. So that may involve getting some interior pieces out of the way. Not quite sure yet. And there's my kit. There's the 5-speed shifter box and the cables. It's worth money. Those cables are worth money. That box is worth money. Here's my brand new clutch pressure plate. Worth money. 5-speed worth money. The hydraulic lines, master, the slave cylinder, it's all worth money. So I'm gonna get that cleaned up and painted and tricked out, and it's gonna be show car. It's all gonna be show car stuff. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I got the connection. So right there is the speed sensor with the little pigtail wire sticking off so I can hook into a harness. And where else? Oh, I got the connection for the starter right there. And then there's one more for the reverse. So, like I say, complete package. Pretty cheap way to do it. You just buy a blown up car. Now I just got to get rid of the car, but that'll be alright. So here's the 03 24 valve with the 6-speed manual. And this thing's going to be disabled. There's not going to be much left of this car. Now, this one is in much better shape than the other one. Ooh, tight in here. So, I don't know if the battery's good, but let's try. It's got some relay that's going tick, 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 tick in here. I don't know what it is. Something to do with the flashers or the hazards of the flashers. You can see that puts it under control. And then it goes nuts. Airbag light on in this thing. And some kind of traction control light, but remember, this one here, axle broke on it, so it probably threw a code. This one runs pretty good. It's nice and smooth. So this one will be cleaned up, tricked out. And hopefully the wire harness, which will be dissected and transplanted into that car also, you know, which includes the throttle pedal, the computer, the OBD2 sensor, you know, an output for the fuel pump, output for the fan, all that stuff. This one runs pretty good. It'd be crazy in that little Scirocco. You know, no smoke. Smells good, sounds good. The oil in it was good. You know, like they just changed it. He was driving the thing. The axle broke because it's lowered. And you know, it's sat for months. Fun. Lots going on. Got the nose off of it. Got the AC pump and condenser away from it. Radiator unhooked. And I'm gonna be nice to the radiator, because if that thing fits in there, then I may end up using that radiator. Seems like it's kind of tall. But it's going to be reserved as an option. Now what I'm doing now, I just want to get a couple of the things away from the motor that I know I'm not going to use. One is the AC. Two is the power steering. So I'm about to unbolt that. Got the belt off of it. And now I'll unbolt that and get that out of the way. There, that line comes around and comes up right over here. Hooks up to the transmission, then around over to the side. Anyways, I'm going to get rid of that thing, get it out of the way. Now, one thing I'm unclear of, but there's something to do with this pump. It's some kind of idle air control. And, you know, it's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff going on here, and there's something up in here. But I got to learn what that is and delete that. So if I'm not mistaken, that stuff's going to be gone and deleted properly. Hoses, vacuum hoses plugged up. wires disposed of properly, you know, whatever this connection is here. That fan, it's a pretty big wire for that blower motor. This right here was unhooked. Unclear why that was sitting here. You know, there's a oil pressure sender down inside there. And that's what this one would be too. It looks more like an aftermarket one. So I'm kind of unsure what's going on there. And it's pretty oily in there. Pretty oily. So I don't know. I always get involved into some stuff that it's never sure how it's going to end up. So I'm just going to try and be careful and drop this motor out of here and not ruin anything. So, got the 24 valve out. Made it up with a 6-speed. So now the object is to see how much of these modules, extra blower, motors, you know, stuff like that I can get rid of without ruining, you know, the runnability of the engine. So people get rid of the blower. They do a PCV, the crankcase ventilation. Get rid of that, and then something else on here I can't think, but anyway, I'm going to be getting rid of all that stuff, and then the wiring, that's the next biggest thing. So trying to delete everything I can, trying to try and hide the harness, get rid of the harness. So just a lot of thinking, a lot of researching, which is coming up next. Take a look at the inside of this thing. Dash is out of it. So I'm going to yank the fuse block out of it, you know, a couple of those connections, because I'm going to try and make my own standalone harness if it's quick and easy. Otherwise, you know, I'm going to spend the $300, $400, $500 somebody wants to, that's already researched it and done it up for me. We'll see. But that's the way it is with all this. You buy the stuff, you know, you buy mounts that somebody already made, or you make your own. You research the axles, or you make your own. You know, you get the ones they already did, or you make your own. But I'm going to buy the kit. It comes with a bunch of crap. Try and get this thing done instead of spending a bunch of time on it. The only thing that I'm probably not buying immediately outright is that harness. So that may be the next installation of the videos, is working on that harness. But anyway, what a mess, right? Too much going on. Gets confusing. It's confusing. So here's the harness, inside and outside of the car. Both ends have been cut off, you know, going down each side of the rocker panel. And so there's the instrument cluster, the ignition, and all the switches for the dash right here. This comes up to the top of the rain tray, you know, right underneath the windshield wipers. And that's a couple plugs for the outside harness, which is right here. And one side of that goes to the ECU for the motor. And there's a couple other connections. I got all that stuff labeled, but I'm not sure just off memory what it is. I can tell right there, those right there, one's for the starter and one's for the backup switch. And right there, that one right there hooks up to the power block, which is right here. And this stuff all goes to the lights, to the fans, the AC. Anyway, I gotta dissect all this stuff and try and figure it out. I've been doing a little more research about deleting the PCB. This right here, I still can't remember what it's called, but what this thing does is blows air into the exhaust to get the catalytic converter fired up. And that's got to do with the EGR. Or actually, that's not EGR, that's just a valve, I suppose, that hooks up and lets it blow in the exhaust. Right there. Anyway, little by little, been reading about this stuff you can unhook. The biggest thing I'm trying to figure out at the moment is what they call the immobilizer. And it has to do with the key and the anti-theft system. So I gotta do some checking to see how to get away with that. Been calling people. Nobody's sure how to, disable it and tune the thing. Here's my throttle pedal. Anyway, so like I say, one by one we'll try and figure this thing out. But that's what I got going to begin with. There it is, all sitting there, not really knowing what to do with it. There we are, a little bit more simplified. Another day's gone by, a couple more parts ripped off there, and I understand just a little bit more about what I'm doing from researching. And so I got some possibilities of things to strip off of it. The secondary air, that'll go for sure. This little vacuum pouch here, that's kind of what that is to keep a regulated vacuum. So, the difference between partial throttle and wide open throttle. And so the vacuum doesn't really change as quick as the throttle change can do, you understand? So that way you get a smooth vacuum response rather than a varied vacuum response, because this solenoid will stay, and this is the solenoid that controls the variable intake valve. These have a valve on the intake, and I'm not a pro at this, but my understanding, perhaps because of the length of the runners, but nevertheless, Volkswagen decided to put this variable little flapper in there, which restricts the airflow, and therefore, during certain RPM ranges, it improves the torque range. So I don't know if I showed all that yucky oil, but that's from the PCB system, leaking oil, which will be deleted. So it's recommended to keep all that stuff, and it's kind of hidden underneath the intake, so it may just stay right there where it belongs. And then, maybe some of the intake hoses will be rerouted. Instead of going up over the top, I'll hide that stuff along with the wire loom. And this here is a after run pump, which comes on with the fan to keep the coolant flowing through the system when you shut the car off, so you don't melt down the head, because it's a pretty thick head. So I got a decision to make whether to leave that on or off. And it's going to be one of them things where I don't know if I'm going to leave that on or delete it. So if I do keep it, I will wire that up with the fan circuit. So if the fan stays on, if the after run fan stays on with the key turned off, which Volkswagens do, then that pump will go on. So then there's a couple other things. This will be gone. That's from the secondary pump. And the PC, I don't know if that's part of the, emissions. I don't know. Just a couple other things we can strip off and clean this thing up and make it look sharp, perhaps. All this bracket will be gone. All this stuff will be gone here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just send the harness in and let this company go ahead and be the one who simplifies this harness down, because I got to have the chip tuned and all that stuff too. So I'll put a stage 1 tune on this chip, and it's going to delete the immobilizer, which is the anti-theft, and then compensate for the fact that they're getting rid of one of the O2 sensors, and some of the emission system's going to be deleted. Secondary pump's going to be deleted. It's not looking for the other systems in the car, like ABS and that kind of thing, so it won't be throwing code. So, and then a performance tune on that chip, and all this stuff will be garbage. It's the rest of the harness I yanked out of that car. And so it's time to clean it up and make it pretty, simplify things. Things are starting to make a little more sense. And get it stripped down to where it's looking, just like a motor sitting in the engine bay with hopefully all the wires hidden. And that's where